So nothing good. That's for sure. Mayor, we're ready.
Okay, we're good to go. Good afternoon, everyone. First things first, please check on your cell phones, put them on silent if you would. And can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Shoemaker,
Present.
Commissioner David,
Present.
Vice Mayor Moore,
Present.
Mayor Hillman,
Present.
and Town Manager Labadie.
Present.
Thank you.
And can we all rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Before we dig into this, are there any public comments before we start? Sure, go right ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you for speaking today. My name is Josh Brooks.
Good afternoon,
Yep, read your
Commissioners. Mr. Mayor, thank you for allowing me to speak this afternoon. My name is Jack Halpern. I live at 4511 South Ocean Boulevard. I'm pleased that we have 7 candidates for this position today. That shows that we have a lot of interest in town, and I know that is something that I've long advocated. So I'm very happy to see that. I know myself and a number of people who have emailed me that we've looked over the 7 candidates, and this is, of course, your opinion in terms of what you guys are going to decide, you boys and girls are going to decide this afternoon. But our concern is we have 3 candidates who are running for election to fill Ms. Gossett-Seidman's unfilled position. And we think that if the board elects any one of them, that implies an implicit endorsement of them and their candidacy. And I don't think that would be fair to the 3 people running. I think that ought to be a pure public decision in terms of how they vote and not be swayed by a commission action. We have 2 candidates on there who are chairman and who've been around a while, one of which our financial commission, Dave Stern. I remember 8, 9 years ago working with him for a period of time for an audit of the water plant. And I remember we were very successful and saved $425,000 to the town. And I've seen that on the financial advisory board. I've listened to him a couple of times. I think it would be excellent over the next 4 months to give you some of the input that he's seeing in terms of what's going on. So people that have emailed me all kind of feel the same. So I just thought we'd pass that along. Thank you very much for your time.
Well, we also are very pleased that there are not only 7 candidates, there are 7 very qualified candidates. When you look at their backgrounds, many, as you say, have served or are serving. A few that haven't are also very qualified in terms of their backgrounds. So it's just wonderful to see the participation. And I think that it is just an example of how the town has come a long way. When you look back just in the recent past, go back 4 or 5 years. So it's terrific to see it. And it's terrific to see the quality of people in terms of their backgrounds and their abilities. Okay, let's move on then to the designation of canvassing board members. Resolution number 2022-031. This is a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Highland Beach, Florida, calling a general election to be held on Tuesday, March 14th, 2023, for the purpose of electing a mayor commissioner, 1 commissioner, and 1 commissioner for an unexpired term, directing the election to be held within the municipal boundaries of the town between the hours of 7 a.m. until 7 p.m., requesting the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections to conduct the town's general election, designating the members of the town's canvassing board, and providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date. This is something we do every year, or not every year, whenever there is an election, and it's always a commissioner that represents us along with our town clerk. And there's usually a backup as well. Well, being that there are two candidates, myself and Commissioner Shoemaker, Vice Mayor has been the individual, and we certainly hope that she will do it again. She's
Yeah.
shaking her head.
Absolutely. I
And,
would volunteer for that.
okay, excellent. And there only leaves one for the backup. So, so- okay, so thank you. Okay. So that takes care of that. I think we need a motion.
We need a motion.
So I will make the motion that Natasha Moore be the chosen individual with Miss David as the backup. Is there a second?
There is a second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So for the record, that is adopting resolution number 2022-013. 031, excuse me. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
let's move on then to the fire rescue station updates. Turn it over to Marshall.
Yes, again, I given you the background. We did some more geotech out on the site. Again, not working with anything great. So we're gonna have to do piles on the structure out front. We gave you a very simplistic site plan so you can see the massing as far as, if you will, for simplicity terms, the box in front of the box, you know, where it's gonna sit in the parking lot in the front and its relationship to it. The programming is working. Chief Joseph wanted a few tweaks. They're working on that right now, and that's mostly around the watch room location on the first floor. Should be in close proximity to the bays and watching the vehicles leave and coming in, which his thoughts are perfect, along with maybe moving the lobby near that too. So the watch room lobby has a connection and maybe free up space for a smaller like gym exercise area to the front. So it's moving on. We should have some more information next week. They're doing the 3D renderings, looking at the elevations, and the massing of the actual station itself. So what does it look like in front of this building, along with getting all the geotech stuff going? Jeff Massey, pursuant to statute, set out the parameters to get our building permit so we can do it in incremental steps, which will allow us to accelerate construction in some fashion. Instead of having a complete set of drawings from start to finish, we can get the foundation and site demo and earthwork plans approved, commence that work, then get the other elements as they come in and issue incremental approvals as we move through that. So Jeff kind of spelled out that statutory process that's allowed for us, and will, similar to a construction manager at risk, we're going to have a building official at risk. So he's going to be part of the team as we already had him, but rendering decisions immediately instead of putting in queue and waiting for the review. It's going to be concurrent. So we set up all of our processes to move it forward. So right now, everything is still tracking as we anticipated. Everything looks good. Truck next week, the aerial ladder. Chief Joseph is going up to Alabama next week to do the inspection with Chief Houston, something like that. But meeting the fire chief up there, going through the equipment, the radios, exercise the ladder and the aerial, make sure it works, the pumper, turn everything on, and then go from there. And we're also to take delivery in 2 weeks of our EMS unit. Gotten a few feedback or comments on design. We're working on those updates to get you the design you all like or closer, and then we'll move forward with that.
Any questions or comments? John, you're good? Evelyn?
Good.
Okay, we're good. Thank you. Okay, let's move on now to the interviewing and selection of candidates for the open seat. Just talk about the protocol a little bit. I suggest that each candidate be given up to 15 minutes at the podium to tell us anything they want to tell us about themselves. At the end of all of the candidates having time, we will take a written vote. Each of us would get a sheet of paper, write down the individual that they select, and then we'll hand that to Benelda, to our clerk. She'll take a look at them. Okay, she's already got it, so we'll circle the individual's name, select one individual. If it comes out that one individual gets more votes than anybody else, that will be the person. If there's a tie, then we'll have discussion amongst us and then we'll vote again. And we'll continue to discuss and vote until it comes out to one person. Okay? There are two people that will be on Zoom. That's Ms. Goldberg and Mr. Schlom. James Murray could not be with us and he's not on Zoom, but we all have his paperwork. We'll do this in alphabetical order, which is the way it's listed on our document. So we will start with Maggie Chapelier. So Maggie, I'll turn it over to you. Yes, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Maggie Chapelier, and I want to be a commissioner for Highland Beach. I have been a resident of Highland Beach since 1985, which is a very long time, and I've seen a lot of growth. And I'm happy to live here. Once again, I moved to the Washington, D.C. area for 10 years, came back, but we never sold our home. I feel that Highland Beach is a wonderful, wonderful place to live. It's like paradise. And I want to make it as even better a place as I possibly can, giving you all my expertise in environmental causes, plus my business background, my teaching background, my education, my leadership skills, my governmental skills, and grant writing, which I've done in the past. So one of the things I did when I was a teacher is I brought in the local community to assist me in grants and programs I wanted to do with my students. I always reached out to the community to enhance my classroom because we didn't have a lot of funds. So I'm excellent at writing grants, and I used to get one a year from a bank called Citibank. I also got one through the Multicultural Awareness Fund of the state of Florida. I also did, when I was a teacher, we did beach restoration. We, with the state of Florida and a local environmental coastal restorer person, we put colonies of this endangered plant in Delray, and I hear the colonies are thriving to this day. So I'm very good at tackling a problem and solving it and using all the resources that are available out there to me. I'm really big on that. I enjoy doing research. I was a doctoral candidate at Florida Atlantic University. I got my degree in curriculum and instruction. So I'm pretty good at rationalizing how to present things to educate the public, how to put things together, how to make presentations for the town of Highland Beach, which is on the website. I did a beach dune restoration PowerPoint, which is on our Natural Resources Board website. And I gave my thrust was, how can I help the owners of beachfront properties to make their dunes more sustainable? And I came up with 4 easy steps. I believe in making it easy. Like if I were teaching my students, just this is what you do. You put the pioneer plants and the scrub plants. I think I gave you all that presentation. So you're familiar with some of the things I've done. The other thing that I worked on with you all, with Mr. Shoemaker, and I think Peggy Gossett, who was my inspiration to be here today. Peggy said to me, you know, Maggie, you really should get involved. And I did. I joined the Natural Resources Board, which I love. I love sitting where you all are today. I enjoy it. I've honed my skills in the sunshine, the law, what is that called?
Sunshine laws.
Yes. And I've had a few missteps and I know how that works, which is a big deal. I get it. Lenelda's been instrumental in helping me through that too. So I'm really good with my government skills now and doing that sort of thing. Okay, so I want to go over a little more of my background other than the fact that I was a teacher. Right now, my husband and I have a real estate commercial business. And what we do is we look for real estate for investors or for ourselves to build multifamily. I'm very familiar with the building process, from buying the land to the schematics with the architects, to the building, the permitting, and finally the CO. I'm very familiar with that. I also, we have a family farm in Virginia, and I was the one, while my husband was busy working for a company in Virginia, I took our farm and I subdivided it into lots. And I worked with government officials in zoning and planning and road work and perk tests and all that stuff. So I'm very familiar working with government agencies. And I know how to work with these people, and you have to be on top of it, but you have to be friendly to get people to respond to you. You can't be an ugly person. You can't be aggressive. You have to be smart. And I feel that I am good at that. I also have a degree in biology, and I taught environmental science and biology. So I'm very interested in environmental causes. And right now with our climate change and the things that are affecting the citizens of Highland Beach, I have a good background in that. So I have a good background in science, and I have a good background in construction. I also have an interior design degree, so I am familiar with AutoCAD. So if someone needs me to look at some plans through AutoCAD, I'm very good at it. And I also do SketchUp, which is 3D modeling, and Revit. So I know how to read those things, and I know how to do those things. I also know how to do PowerPoint. I know how to do Excel. When I was living in Miami, I was comptroller for a company because I have an undergraduate degree in marketing with some accounting. And I know how to do pro formas, income and expense. I know how to do budgeting. For my condo association, I run it, and I'm also the treasurer. I do our annual budget. I do our financial condition statements, and I adhere to our budget. Sometimes, you know, like the water bill went up a little bit, so I have to face all that, how to deal with insurance companies when we have problems. Also, my leadership skills. I have been president of many associations in the past. Some of them volunteer work. When I lived in Virginia, I was the secretary for a group called Great Falls Friends and Neighbors. So as a secretary, I understand about minutes and motions and keeping track on who did all this. That's all to me important for following Robert's Rules of Order. I believe everyone should know how to do that if you want a position like this. Also, I did volunteer work in Boca and the Junior League of Boca Raton. I was involved with the Woman Volunteer of the Year in the past. It's a big event in Boca. Also, with your all's help, I was able to help with getting the marine boat and the intercoastal. I started off with John. And the good thing about me is I know when to push and I know when to back off. Okay. I know that I listen to my superiors and they say, okay, enough, Maggie, enough. Because I'll go all the way. I'll go as far as you want me to go, but I do know when to push it back a little bit. I have that skill. Also, I went over my computer skills. I was an environmental biology and environmental science teacher. My business acumen includes accounting, marketing. I'm a real estate broker. I know how to read contracts very well because in real estate, you have to know how to read contracts. I'm very good at that. And I don't even mind reading contracts. Let's see. What I did to do this 15-minute thing, I went back and I looked at your minutes for the last 6 months. I wanted to see in case I missed anything, because I try to keep up, but sometimes I'm more focused on my board, which is the Natural Resources Board. I understand that there's something I would be interested in doing is going to that Florida League of Cities and representing Highland Beach. I would love that. That's sort of, I love going to conventions and things like that and networking and seeing what can be done. I read about, what's going on with the fire chief, that you all obtained 2 grants, I see, for climate vulnerability. I was reading about that and some of the expenses that have come up. And there was this person who's doing a sea turtle program, and I think that's fabulous. That's all up my alley as being an environmentalist. And I must say, I'm very enthusiastic to be a town commissioner, and I will work myself as hard as you need me to work. I'm very good at research. As a doctoral student at Florida Atlantic University, I did a lot of research. And another important aspect of this job is to be being tech savvy. I'm very tech savvy. Not only do I do AutoCAD, I do Excel, PowerPoint, Word, SketchUp, and the Adobe programs Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign. I yield to the other people that, that's all I want to say about myself, other than I would love this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, before you sit down.
Yes. Oh, you have
my-
questions?
My fellow commissioners might have a few questions
Okay.
or comments.
Sure.
So we'll start with John.
Hi, John.
So, yes, Maggie, known you for a while, your enthusiasm, your passion for Highland Beach is well understood and recognized, certainly by me. By the way, you have great penmanship too, on top of everything else.
Oh, thank
I
you. Oh, I
appreciate some-
wrote that.
So I understand then that Peggy really was the inspiration for you to come up here because you've been here for 37 years.
I never thought of it. It just didn't occur to me that it was something that I could do. And then Peggy said, Maggie, you'd be really good at this. And then I got on the board and I loved it. And I even remember we didn't have a quorum? I actually asked my neighbors, come on, guys, we got to have a quorum. Just come, please come. And that's kind of,
Well, I
thing I do.
appreciated that you invited me into your home so I could see firsthand the issues with the manatee and the speeding on the intercoastal waterway. So your commitment to the town and through the Natural Resources Board is longstanding. And I want you to know that we appreciate that. I am impressed that you made the due diligence of going back and looking at the videos or whatever.
that's
About
what
our
you do
past
when you
meeting.
want a job. You prepare yourself for your job.
And you have multiple degrees. So,
I do.
the thing about all the candidates and you is that just like so many in this town, the people who are in Highland Beach, they have credentials. They have success in their backgrounds, their track record across a number of disciplines. So it's really quite something. But I do appreciate your signing up for this. And I know that you would tackle it with lots of energy.
I
So
would.
thank you.
Hi, Maggie. Hello. Your background is very impressive, and I know that you are a hard worker. One question, are you running for the permanent position as well?
Depends on what you want. I signed up for it, but yes, I want to
Yeah.
follow Peggy's footsteps. She,
Yeah, because right now this hearing is just for the temporary
yes.
spot until the March election.
yeah, and then when
So-
the election comes, it's going to start all over again, of course.
Yeah, so have you signed up to run for that position? Okay, that's what I wanted
Yes,
to know.
when I heard, let me see, I wrote down your name. When he said it wasn't a good idea, the good idea of having that person also run is they'll have a little experience, just like all of you all will run again. And what's to say the incumbent would win or lose? I don't think it matters.
Yeah, well, whatever happens, I hope you
Thank you.
continue.
Thank you. Oh, no, I will. I'm not
Because-
it's not gonna stop.
We need people like you because you do a terrific job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Maggie, thanks for volunteering
Hello.
to come before us. And I think your energy is really impressive and your outreach is really impressive.
I do care about people, as you know.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you reached out to me to get my opinions on, what were some of the key things. And, I'm very impressed by that. Yeah, I think your qualifications are excellent. I guess I know as part of your due diligence, you were reaching out to see what was the top issues. So what in your opinion, is some of the key things that need to be addressed?
Budgeting, I'm sure, financial things, staying on budget. watching the pennies so we don't have to raise taxes. Nobody wants their taxes raised. Nobody wants that. Climate change, what's happening with our streets when we have flooding, the dunes. As that was part of my presentation to the Natural Resources Board. Somehow we have to educate and help some of these owners. If you have a house and you let your dune fall, the two people on both sides, dunes will fail. It doesn't matter if they're keeping it up. One person affects the neighbors. That's how it works. There's nothing you can do once you put up like what used to be the Ambassador South, that wall there, that's also ricocheting to both sides and causing erosion. We have more erosion on that end than this end of Highland Beach. So I get to see more of the erosion near where I live. I also want to represent not only the people that live on the streets or Belido, but the high rises too. I would go to these buildings and have a conference with them, or maybe the little coffee thing, come in and tell me what your problems are. What are your problems? What do you not like about Highland Beach? You don't like 20 million signs on your street? I remember a long time ago when I lived here in the 80s, there was a commissioner I met in one of my real estate classes. And I told him that the street signs in Highland Beach were huge. And he said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, in Coral Gables in Florida, they're this big. So he said, okay, I'll help you pass an ordinance. That was my first experience with a commissioner. And I thought that's really cool that they could actually take all those ugly signs that were here in the 80s and 90s. I don't know if you remember that. And they made them a little smaller. So things can get done when you're on a commission.
Yes,
Absolutely.
okay. That's it for me. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hi, Maggie.
Hello. I know all you all because
Of course you
of
do.
course. I've been involved.
I want you to know the fact that you're running for the 1 year slot. We don't see that as a benefit or a detriment.
I don't even,
We talked about it at great length a meeting or two ago. And quite honestly, we were split on our opinions on it.
okay.
And because we are split, we just left it. My thoughts and questions have already been covered. You obviously have a background, but you are basically competing with others that also have great backgrounds.
Very qualified,
And
very
that's,
qualified people.
and I know I'm being redundant, but that's what's wonderful about this. The town has residents with wonderful backgrounds that have not come out of the woodwork to serve. And now they're starting to, and that's really, really terrific. So we thank you for applying for this, and we thank you for running for the 1 year slot as well. And it's great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on now to Josh Davidson.
Good afternoon, town. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for the opportunity to let me run. So a little bit of background on myself. Florida native, grew up in Miami. So South Florida all my life. Spent some time in Orlando where I went to college. I have a 5.5-year-old daughter who is one of my primary reasons for running for the town. Lived in Highland Beach for 4 years now. And if you ever see me out with my daughter, she knows everybody in the neighborhood. She will walk into your house if you let her. She will strike up a conversation. You know, if you have a dog, she wants to pet the dog. You know, she's just a very outgoing social person. And that's what I feel like this community of Highland Beach is. You know, if you go for a walk on A1A, everyone smiles at you. Everyone says hello. You know, we're a very tight-knit community. So my reason for being here is to continue that with the next generation and the crowd that, you know, may be moving and buying homes here in the future. My background is in finance, investments for almost 20 years now. My main focus through that career has been prevention of loss or capital preservation. I think that's the most important thing when we think about the town. And what we need to do for the people here is preserving what we already have, not only from a financial and monetary standpoint, but from a community standpoint. You know, other ways that I can benefit the town being on the commission is unique problem solving abilities. So all of our candidates have excellent problem solving abilities. My knowledge comes from having such a range of experiences. So my resume doesn't show you that I can change a tire, you know, I can swap a motor on a car. I'm a licensed boat captain. I've worked in construction. I've run an agricultural landscaping business. I've DJ'd, I've bartended, I've served food. So all of these different experiences, you know, coming from an office job down to really getting down to the workers that work in our communities and understanding that gives me a range of thoughts on how to come up with complex or how to solve complex problems in maybe a different way than most people are thinking about. So that's one of the things that I bring to the table here. You know, looking at the experience and the resumes of all of my competition, definitely very humbling. You know, I have a lot more in my career to go to get up to the caliber of the rest of the people here today. So I'm thankful to be in that presence. I won't take up too much more of your time. I'm happy to answer any questions and pretty much an open book here. So thank you.
Okay, let's start at this side this time.
Sure. Thanks for volunteering. It's great to see you. I guess in your opinion, what do you think is some of the key issues that need to be addressed or should be of the highest priority?
There isn't really a specific issue. You know, I think our biggest issue as a town is listening to the people. So one of the things that I've gotten very good at over my career and talking people off of ledges when, you know, the markets are dropping and their accounts and their 401ks have been cutting in half, you know, is listening. Okay. So I think the first step we need to do as a town, especially when, you know, comments come in or even comments that don't come in, you know, as I'm out taking walks around the community, it's what is, you know, the vibe, what is the feeling that our town has, you know, do they like living here? Are there too many problems that all they do is complain about? You know, so that's the biggest issue is how do we collectively get the opinion of the residents of our town so that we can make better decisions about that? You know, I think some of the biggest problems that we have are in process of being solved. You know, we have the new Marine unit, we have the new fire station coming. You know, we have, as I'm serving on the Natural Resources Board, we're working diligently to help save our beach from erosion, potentially down the road, you know, helping on the intercoastal side with erosion on that side. You know, we're a barrier island, you know, we need to protect both sides, the people in it. I think those are the kind of issues that we should be focusing on.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Thank you for coming forward. I echo all of the people who are really happy to see people coming out. It's gratifying, quite frankly. What don't you think we should deal with?
Excellent question.
Just to be different.
Don't humor her, would you?
This meeting right now, I think, you know, what we shouldn't be focusing on is how to please everyone. Okay, we're never going
Never
to,
gonna do that.
you're never going to get to a place where everyone's going to be happy, but you can find common grounds that, you know, just like our political parties can in certain situations come to an agreement on. So I think that's, you know, we shouldn't as members or commissioners try and please everyone. We should look to a solution that makes, you know, both parties adequately happy, so to speak, with the decisions that we're making.
I think one of the things people have to remember is you need to come to this with a sense of humor. Because while you have to be serious about some things, you can't be serious about everything. And I also hope that no matter how this turns out, that you stay involved in the town. Because every year there's changes and every year we need people and you just just keep coming and just keep staying involved.
Absolutely. And this isn't my first time in front of the board. You know, I've
Mm.
helped pass I don't know the technical term, but changes to an existing ordinance so that people can build structures on their land. You know, I've been in front of the code compliance, you know, people for issues there, you know. I think it's important that I've seen that somebody on this board understands, you know, the good things and the bad things that go with living in the town.
Thank you.
So I'm glad to meet you. I have not met you before, so I'm coming into
Pleasure.
this really new. Curious as to why you wouldn't have tried to get on the financial advisory board with your background, which is excellent in the whole world of finance, especially these days.
Sure, that was it was my second choice when I applied to be a board seat. There's actually a nice background story if we have extra time for that one. So my original application was number 1, finance, number 2, natural resources, and that finance got picked up with too many members before I had the opportunity.
I see. I see. So looking at the town though, do you see any financial issues that come to your mind?
I haven't taken a look closely at the budgeting or the actual financial statements, you know, to comment on that at time.
So-
But I know that's a difficult, you know, area.
Yeah, no, I just figured I'd ask.
Yeah, and one of the things, you know, I can also add as a benefit is traditional financing and creative ways of getting things done when it comes to numbers. You know, I'm not talking about illegal things off the books, but sometimes there's, you know, you're looking to buy an investment property. There's not only one way to buy an investment property, you know, so I have resources and knowledge over time of different investment vehicles that we can use to accomplish different things by issuing bonds or other types of marketable securities, you know, to help pay for things of that nature.
Okay, the other, For Ocean is a volunteer. I never hear about For Ocean in terms of Highland Beach. Is there anything that you'd recommend?
Yes, so actually on the Natural Resources Board, one of the things that I brought up was partnering with the For Ocean Group. So if you live on the intercoastal side, you may see little blue John boats that come around. They come around, I think, almost every weekend back into the canals, and they'll pick up trash that had flowed in there. And they're also on the mangroves up and down the intercoastal, I think from West Palm Beach all the way to Broward County. So I think, you know, part of our 2023 initiatives for that board is to have some kind of town partnership with For Ocean, so that, you know, whether it's we organize a day where everyone on the canal, you know, picks up a trash bag of trash, you know, we'll rent some paddle boards and go out there. So I think there's ideas of how we can keep our specific town, you know, up to code and up to protecting our species and wildlife with an organization like that.
Excellent. It's an interesting thought because even on the beach side, the amount of debris coming in is pretty amazing at times. Okay, the only other thing is, as you look at the town, you moved here how long ago?
4 years.
And in the 4 years, how would you characterize the town? I mean, just overall, how would you describe us as compared to where all the other locations that you've lived?
Sure. I was never in a, so to speak, tight-knit town. I was in, you know, unincorporated Miami or unincorporated Orlando or other, you know, large major cities where my voice had no say whatsoever. I think especially in the 4 years that I've been here, I've seen a positive change, you know, especially in the sense of growing the community, you know, so we didn't have as many food truck events, you know, that we did in the past, or I see the population of, you know, the tree lightings and the Easter or I forget the name of it, but the population and the turnout for each of those, I think, is getting bigger and bigger each time. I'm sure you are measuring that. So I think, you know, as word gets out and everyone is talking amongst the streets and, you know, let's go out and support the town. Let's learn about, you know, the different events and things that are happening, come and support the build out of the new fire station. I think everyone loves that we have a Marine unit on patrol. And now I think that's the biggest talk of the town. So these all changes have helped grow the community stronger in the last 4 years.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. That makes us feel a little positive about things. And yeah, a lot of that has happened just in the last couple of years. All right, well, thank you again. I'm glad to meet you and know about you.
You as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Josh.
Afternoon.
I make it a point to watch all of the different board meetings, either live or, a few days later. And you're very active on that board and we appreciate you joining it. You certainly make a contribution in there. The fact that you've seen change in the town and change for the better are wonderful news to our ears. Okay, because we've been working very hard to affect that change. Had you been here for the last 8 or 10 years, you probably really would have experienced a lot of change. Okay. But I learned a long time ago is if you'll give people free food, they'll come. Okay. So I learned that in our condominium. You have a meeting with food, people show up. Okay. Why are you laughing? Same thing in your building, right? No, in all seriousness, you are right. More and more people are coming to the food truck events. And we have a coffee with the mayor. We have a meeting of condo board presidents. So we're doing a lot of outreach things, one to communicate outwardly, but also to get more feedback. So we know what the people are thinking and what else can we be doing to affect the needs of the community. And obviously some of the ideas and things that we hear, we can't do or might be more self-serving for an individual than better for the entire community. But we are very cognizant of it and we're trying very hard to work towards that. The fact that you, after 4 short years, are getting more and more involved is music to our ears. Okay. And it's terrific. And we thank you for that. The questions that I have already been covered. So I have no questions unless you have a question of me or of us. We're all ears.
And before, and I make
Sure.
one other additional comment to reinforce. You mentioned specifically the truck events. And that's something new that we've been doing here. And I think maybe there at one point is, they're just, trying to give away free food to get their support. But it's really, and it has always been the focus on building a community where people feel good about living in Highland Beach and talk to each other and create those relationships. I think of it in terms of camaraderie, and building that does take time. But it needs sparks, and the truck events is one of those particular ways in which we can support that kind of community spirit. And that's really been the aim. So the fact that you mentioned it is a big deal. Thank you.
Yeah, the Sunday breakfast at John's will be the next thing. We'll start.
I'll look for the invite.
So do you have any questions of us?
No questions, really appreciate the opportunity. As I mentioned, I think one of the other things that the town can do to really boost that camaraderie, there does seem to be a sense of, east side versus west side of sometimes, from property owners and people that live on each side of the highway. So thinking of more events and ideas that can incorporate, both sides of the town would certainly be helpful.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay.
So, love
Thank you,
to get
Josh.
some ideas as I become.
If you get them, shoot them over to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on now to Judith Goldberg. Are you with us? Yes, you are. Okay, hi. We can't, we see you. Oh, there you go. No, don't have you. No, you're still muted. We can see that you're muted. Probably in the
Okay.
bottom right-hand corner.
Okay,
There you go.
Do you hear me now? Good.
Yes, we can.
I can see you. I hope you can see me. I want to thank you for the opportunity to appear before you. I'm up in very cold New York at the moment, and I wish I was right there before you. I want to say that As you know, I have been a presence there, showing up for meetings the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 months. And I have found I'm very impressed. And I'm not saying this to court favor with you. I just truly want to be authentic in what I see and why I want to be a part of it. I see exemplary service and authentic camaraderie, teamwork, respect, and a team, commissioners and mayor, that get things done and get things done in the appropriate way with the research, the investigation, really hard work for each one of you. And I totally respect that. And as a person with my background is advocacy and collaboration and team and being part of solutions, that's very attractive to me. So from a very personal point of view, I want to work with you because I think that I would fit into the existing team and be a benefit and bring my intellect and tools to foster just to benefit the town and foster good governance in the town. So my exposure here was about 18, 20 years ago. I had the pleasure with my husband and my baby at that time to vacation for 2-3 weeks in Highland Beach. And I remember, and I'm a city girl, and although I have family here, my mother lived here for many years, and I have siblings and grandchildren here. I had never had the experience the first time that I drove down Highland Beach. I thought it was magical. And I said to my husband, if I could only be here, even part-time, that would be fabulous. And there was a wish. And then I turn around all these years later and I find myself here quite by, maybe accident, but maybe certainly very fortuitous. I have so coming here has been really a joy. I have been coming down on a rental basis, going back and forth to Connecticut, where my law practice was, since 2012. And at that time, I said, this is the place that I want to be. This is the place I want to retire. So I immediately looked around, and as a mediator and family law attorney for 35 years up north, I said, I'm going to use my skills here. Didn't want to sit for the bar again. I'm a member of both New York and Connecticut bars, retired from New York, but is still active in Connecticut. I immediately started to get my certification by the Supreme Court of Florida for a family mediator, which I do, I did, and I do. Once I attained my certification, I said, well, now that I have the paper, how am I going to service new clients? So I did my website, I created my business, and I've cultivated that business and are still active in the mediation business in Florida. So it was by design, a seamless transformation to this lifestyle. I love it here. In one word, I say Highland Beach. I felt that way 18 years ago. And every morning when I wake up and I'm on the intercoastal and look at the water and the boats and what's going on here, this is like heaven. So why I want to be there further is that there's a lot of important stuff going on now, and that's going to continue to occur. I'll talk about that now and then go back to my background. I think that what's very important, and certainly important in my immediate scope with my condominium association that I'm very active with, is the impact, economic impact on condo owners, certainly anyone with over 3 stories, the impact of the current legislation. And I've shared with my community the link so that they could see 2 weeks ago, the town session that we had our new legislator speak and Mr. Mayor and Mr. Schumacher specifically about the reserve funding. This is on everyone's minds. This is what is troubling many, many people, way beyond my community, my Seagate condominiums. And if there is anything that this town can do, singly or in conjunction with other municipalities, and become a force up in Tallahassee, I'd love to see that happen. Did many other things, the completion of A1A. I'm not even that familiar. I wasn't here on a full-time basis when that was before the town on a referendum. And I want to know more, and I want to be there to see if I could be of any assistance in anything that has to be dealt with, whether on a financial or whether in any manner, anything that needs to be dealt with. My background as an attorney, as a mediator, and as a business person, I think is a perfect fit, and my personality is a perfect fit for the town, a compliment to the town, and I hope a compliment to the sitting board. I've also, my earliest insert that I put on my resume, given my age, I could have gone on for a few more pages, but I didn't want to give away my age. So I started with a business that I owned, a resort hotel that I owned together with my husband. And we did that for 10 years. And I was a kid when I started. And it was a fabulous way and to learn business. And I did that contemporaneous with doing an MBA program in finance and management and business. So that's where it first started. I always had my political and interest and my government interest, because even prior to that, as a much younger person, I was very involved in political campaigns, not running for office, but on campaigns in the city for statewide as well as presidential elections. So I have this interest and love of what is going on in my world and in the town I live in, the city and the state and the country that I live in. So it would be a profound privilege for me to be a part of your team. From other aspects of what I can do and what I've done, I studied law and became an attorney. Really, it was like my third career, because business, running the hotel, being in politics, working for lawyers for many years, was a very good segue into me being out front as the advocate. I was the support advocate for all those other endeavors, except of course business. I was right out front, selling and putting in financial and business methods so that the operation of our business would be tighter and more profitable. Then I went on to the master's, but my joy was going to law school. And then I had adopted a child late in life, which created so much more in my life that led me to advocate for her, because she had some special needs, and become more and more involved in different aspects of my environment. And that has been beautiful. And my daughter came with me to Florida and is now met a great guy. And so she's happy and I'm happy. So the world is happy in my home. In law school, being an older person in law school, I had no time to waste. So I immediately clerked and for some really amazing people, and then settled and opened, after being a partner, a law firm, opened my own firm. So I was a solo practitioner with my own staff in Danbury, Connecticut for over 25 years. And During that time as well, I studied and obtained a certification as a certified divorce financial analyst. Even in my practice as a family law attorney, as I was a trial attorney. So I'm out there as an advocate. I mean, that is, by becoming a lawyer, I tapped into what I love the best, and that's advocating for people and figuring out solutions and being a part of the solution. And that's what's wonderful, if I could be. And I feel that I'm a part of that solution every time that I show up and attend a town commission meeting, because I learn what's going on around me, what needs to be done, what needs to be looked at, because people just, residents, we drive up and down a beautiful street, and we enjoy the luxury of the wealth that we see around us, and to enjoy whatever accomplishments that we've achieved to enable us to be in Highland Beach. But there's more. There's actually what's going on that makes it as perfect as it is. And I think that in watching the board, the commission, what I particularly like is the respect that you give to anyone that appears and to each other. And you all work so hard. I mean, it's apparent that you have a lot of homework to do, and you do your homework, and everyone comes prepared. I have served as the chairperson on the concrete restoration committee. So I was in my condominium association. And so I was thrown into an area that I have absolutely no knowledge about. But like anything else, you can, with study and with care and diligence, you can become proficient at whatever you do. But that was terrific as an entree for me, because that made me profoundly aware of the dire straits everyone is in, and what we were looking at, and the multiple millions of dollars that keeps on accruing with no end. And as Peggy Gossett-Seidman brought out, our population, the dense population, is on the coast. And I would hate to see the seniors and all the people that have been flocking and continue to flock to the riches that we have in Florida be demeaned and destroyed because of what's going on with the state law, the new state law. There's a need for it, but there's also a need to review and revise. So as it is with everything, to keep reviewing and seeing, can we do it better? Can we do it better? So I think that my experience, my training, my education with business and finances, law and advocacy, my desire and what I like to do best is a collaboration, as well as the advocacy, but the teamwork and to getting things done. I think that is the best thing that I can offer to the town of Highland Beach.
Thank you, Judy. I'm going to turn this over to John. Let you start off.
Well, that was quite a review, and I appreciated specific words you had mentioned: authentic, spirit, respect, and advocacy. I think, if anything, this town wants to support that kind of ethic, so to speak. Looking at your background, I mean, my goodness, your involvement at Seagate with all of their restoration activity going on, which is, started out as underestimated and then turned into a nightmare, and now you're stuck with trying to make it all happen. But let me come back to your legal background, because you were also town attorney for the town of Paterson.
Yes.
In New York, and I looked it up, and the population is like 180,000, give or take. Maybe a few have left since then, or at least since the elections. I don't know. Now, does that mean that the town had more than one attorney, or were you trying to do everything in support of the town? At that
There was
point?
only one town attorney, and I'll tell you a short little story about that. I lived in New York and I practiced law. My main office was in Danbury, Connecticut, and the two states are contiguous. So, I mean, I was only 20-minute drive away. But I was approached one day from the only woman on the town board, and they had their town attorney was called to the conflict in Grenada. That's how long ago it was. And they called upon me to come down to interview. And I did. And I remember saying to them, I don't know municipal law. I'm a family law attorney. So they said, well, why do you think that you can do this? You know, lawyer, I could learn anything. And they wanted more. And I said, I want this job because I want to open my own office. And this is going to pay for me to do that. And they said, okay, that's good for us. But I became the first woman town attorney. So I did all as your attorney does, I attended the board meetings, the resolutions, the contracts, everything and anything that they needed. I litigated the dog bite cases and other municipal cases, you know, court cases that came up to try cases before the lower court. So it was only one attorney.
So in addition, as a family and divorce lawyer, my goodness, mediation and whatnot, that's a difficult world. Given what's going on with restoration at Seagate, and you've seen where major restoration is going on elsewhere in Highland Beach, how do you view that world and what's happening, and what do you see happening going forward? This is in the world of
certainly, you know, initially it's the chaos that no one expected. What I see now, we started it actually before Highland Beach or the state acted with legislation. It was actually even before the towers went down. We thought it was a small little paint job and maybe light concrete, and a little tapping occurred, and boom, we found that the can had been kicked down the road too many years in our community. So the phenomenon that happened from not thinking it was going to be much of anything to finding out that great resources, such significant resources were needed, that in a community where it was rare to find an empty apartment, people are running. People don't know what to do. You know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 per unit, and it's just starting. And then to look at what is being asked in reserves, and we don't even know really concretely what this law says, what we have to do, when we have to do it. So there is bewilderment, fear, great fear. Can I afford it? Do I have to leave the home that, you know, I put so much into? That maybe my grandparents were there. This is our legacy. And people are leaving, and wonderful people that committed to our town. So if there's anything we can do, it's needed. And I think that there are ways. We're a little town with a big voice. I mean, look.
Okay, let me jump in here and interrupt.
Okay.
Because we're getting a little off the subject here. This is not about restoration, and it's not about the reserve studies and the reserve requirements. Okay, so let me kind of roll this back in again.
Yeah, and I was more thinking about what you would do if you were commissioner regarding that whole area. If you could just summarize what your thoughts are about what you would do in the seat here to support the people that you have just described, obviously having problems.
I would first of all speak with the team, all the commissioners, the mayor, about what, if anything, we can do. That would start it. I would start a conversation if it hasn't started already. and be a part of working out and continue to work out a plan, how we as a small municipality can make change. How can we advocate?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hi, Judy.
I,
We have had a couple of fairly long conversations, so I know your background. I know what you're capable of, and I really don't have any questions because we've spoken so much and you answered anything that I might have asked for John. So thank you. And thank you for applying because I think
Thank
it's
you. Thank you.
Hey, Judy. Thanks so much for coming to our meetings. I've definitely noticed your presence here, and for me, that goes a long way. I guess one thing as I listen to your experience at Seagate, I feel like one issue that's high on our priority list is engagement with the residents. And I imagine you had significant issues with, I'm sure that was a really tough message to convey to the residents of Seagate. I guess, in your opinion, what's the best way to communicate and get engagement among the residents, and perhaps drawing on your experience at Seagate, what worked well or didn't work well?
Prior to me chairing the first meeting, there was a long history of confusion of how we got to where they got. And so what worked for me is setting out a history very succinctly, to the point, to tell them how they got there. And I think in the short way to describe it is give the information simply, succinctly, and give them all the information. So being very transparent and calm, answering questions, and letting them know that I have compassion and I'm part of it. I'm part of their suffering, and I'm also part of finding a solution. And I found that the immediate response was they were now listening, not reacting. And they took the information in and could deal with it and could understand it and could make decisions easier, less hysteria, less chaos.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Well, first, I have to tell you, I'm very partial to you because my wife grew up in Danbury. Okay. So you practiced for 25 years in Danbury. I don't know if she was there during that time or not, but Danbury is a lovely community.
It is.
And it's a small town.
Mhm.
So that's kind of interesting. Any concrete restoration project that begins small ends up big. So I don't know that they end up as large as yours has become, but they all grow, and they grow exponentially, unfortunately. The whole issue on the reserve requirement and reserve study is one that is still going to be revisited in Tallahassee. So people should not get overly concerned, because what has been stated now is probably going to change by January of 25. So let's not overreact to what the current law is, because I'm being redundant. It's going to be adjusted somehow. Okay. You and I, again, like has been said by my associate, have chatted a few times already. So I don't have any questions. Your background obviously is excellent for this position, as is many others. So thank you for stepping up. Very much appreciate it. And we'll see what happens.
Thank
Okay.
you.
You bet. Thank you. Okay. Let's move on to Peter Kozowski. Want to come up, Doctor?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to appear. I believe most have started with a review of their CV, so I'll give a very short one. was born in New York. Parents moved to Jersey, and I ended up at prep school at Horace Mann in Riverdale, New York. During my time there, I was asked privately to become a tutor to other students. It was never publicized. I was then part of the Saturday Tutoring Project, and along with a friend of mine who was quite a good artist, we started essentially art course, and that has remained in effect now almost 50 years. So the class in art where students from different backgrounds can't afford prep school would come be tutored, but also have the opportunity to develop skills in many artistic endeavors. And also during that time, I continued an interest in photography and was one of the original editors and of Insight magazine, which was the Horace Mann photography magazine, which should be celebrating its 50th anniversary, I believe. And moving on from there, I went to the University of Pennsylvania. I was pre-med, but also took many other courses that I was interested in. And I have graduate credits in city planning and architecture, as well as in Renaissance art. So I'm just giving a general background. Past that, went to medical school. I became a diagnostic radiologist, did a fellowship in CT at Hahnemann University in Pennsylvania, and then became the first MRI fellow at Cornell University Medical Center in New York. During those times, I taught residents, fellows, and visiting doctors from around the world, many of whom were experts in their field. Also authored or co-authored probably a dozen papers and a chapter on MRI of the spine. And I suggest to anyone who's having a difficult time sleeping at night that they download one of those articles. And I promise you that within 10, 15 minutes, it's better than Ambience. You'll be sound asleep.
Sold. Done.
So I went into private practice after my time at Cornell, then retired and started a small private foundation. It was originally going to be mainly scholarships, but when hard times hit, essentially gives money mostly to food banks and a few things. And it's very small. It's not a grand, but it over the years, it's self-funded. And that's where essentially most of my assets will go. So as my accountant and sometime attorney likes to say, I'm worth more dead than alive. So becoming a commissioner might help me be worth more alive than dead. So I became, I've always been skeptical of politics, and I became interested in the town politics when I moved, and in the prior administration, there were some, what I thought fiscally irresponsible and ideas with the bond issue and what they were going to do, especially since many of the things they were trying to accomplish could have been accomplished via state without the town funding a huge debt. And that's when I really began to get involved with constructive criticism. I worked with Evelyn, Peggy Gossett, Greg Bobby, and others. And I'd like to say that I think that the present mayor and commissioners are a result of that constructive criticism, and that there needs to be a good open dialogue. I think that the town has made great steps forward from where it was just a few years ago. Going forward, there are a few things when it comes to plans for the town, I think, that have either been forgotten or put aside. I believe we had a power outage in the southern part of Highland Beach just a while back. And if I remember from a few years ago, there was a discussion of we have power coming in, I believe, from 3 different sources, that we could have an automatic switch when power drops out from one incoming source, that one of the others would take over. And it was at the time discussed during the prior administration that this could be done perhaps inexpensively, and I think it should be reinvestigated. Whether it could be done or not, I'm not sure, but it's a simple fix to keeping power on for the entire town of Highland Beach. About 3.5 years ago, in front of the other administration, when they were talking about raising the road and putting 5-inch pipes with pumps to pump water into the intercoastal, I suggested that we do have global warming, but that's not the way we're going to keep our streets dry. If waves start coming over the dunes, we're going to need seawalls, and we'll need to consider having an engineering firm or the Army Corps of Engineers look into putting in seawalls for protection. Because if we get a Category 4, we're going to see a lot of major damage. And even with the new fire station, it should be Category 5 hardened. Now, as you move back, and depending whether you're on the east or the north or south or west facing, there are different statutory requirements for your windows and such for hurricanes. My suggestion is that they all be Category 5 hardened because the equipment is so expensive. If it isn't moved out and you get a major hurricane and flooding with salt water, you're going to damage multi-million-dollar fire trucks, ambulances, and such. And a little bit of prevention is worthwhile investigating. In terms of huge increases in insurance that we're facing, I believe if we can work with Peggy, with state government, because most of the hurricane insurance now is state backed. You can't get hurricane insurance essentially from anywhere else unless you're going to pay 4 times or 5 times the price. That if we do put in seawalls, that perhaps we can get a discount on the premiums. But again, once the seawall stops, your neighbor, if they don't have one, is going to be eroded and damaged. And I have some experience, my late father, in developing property out on the island where they had problems with erosion, and people would put out jetties and then erode, 200 yards down. So they would put up a jetty and erode 200 yards down. And so you sort of pass on the problem to your neighbor. So what we would try to do, I would hope, is even if we float a state or a town bond issue to make it affordable to harden the beach area, because it's only a matter of time before we get hit with a major storm. One of my strengths is taking in ideas from all over, letting them synthesize and coming up with different and new ideas. And what I think we could do also in Highland Beach is have more of a public-private partnership. We have a lot of wealthy inhabitants of Highland Beach, and when it comes for either new signage or for different public projects, I think that given it's a nonprofit, it's run as a nonprofit, that you could have donations towards these things to pay for it instead of using taxpayers' dollar, where individuals or buildings or such can get a write-off. And I was researching also in terms of just the way the commissioners, mayors are paid. If people remember back when Barack Obama won the Nobel Prize, he donated it, and most of it went to help veterans, I believe, to Fisher House, which I support. And what he did was very clever. He, since it was a nonprofit, he donated it as a nonprofit and never took possession and paid income tax, even though the rich should pay. He got the full deduction. If our town is a nonprofit, or we run the police department, the library, et cetera, as nonprofit, for those commissioners, mayors, and so on that could afford it, you could award their compensation as a prize, which they could give back, would cost the town nothing, and they would get a tax deduction for it. Again, you'd have to check with the accountants and laws in Florida, but just a way of sort of thinking out of the box. And of course, for those that are not in that kind of a tax bracket, you'd offer regular compensation. But just an idea that we are fortunate to be a wealthy community, that I'm sure that there are many people that would like to donate not only their services, but their funds for the betterment of Highland Beach. Thank you.
Turn it over to you, Natasha.
Hello, nice to meet you. I don't think we've met before. Thank you for coming before us. I guess my question would be, what do you think is the top issue that we're dealing with right now?
For the immediate top issue, I think is going to get the fire department up and running. But the down the road issue is going to be the A1A revision, traffic problems that'll cause. And one of the problems we had with some of the mansions that had steep driveways was the ponding. And I forget if it's 25 feet from the middle of A1A that is state property. If you extend the bike lanes and you put a continuous sort of like a French drain along that, you might be able to have the state take care of a lot of the ponding problems and increase the size of the swales that we have. But you also have to be careful that whatever is on top of those drainage, that if a biker goes off, its thin tire won't get caught in it and then toss them into the bushes. I did take a drive up and down and seeing that if you extended the bike path to about 5 feet on both sides compared to the plan of the prior administration, you would lose very few trees and a lot of small bushes and so on. But the plan before I had counted, I think we were going to lose 500 of the large palm trees, and that would have been a disaster, which is why this particular governance that we have today has been much more realistic and
Right.
reasonable.
Much more palatable.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
In point of fact, it's 50 feet from the center of the
50.
road,
Mhm.
and the bike lanes are being widened, and the whole road in essence is being moved over a couple of feet. So the road itself will move west because there's no room east to expand it.
Right.
So, and they are also going to be taking care of a lot of the swales and the ponding problems.
Right.
And that's not town money, that's.
That's what
FDOT.
I'm saying.
Yeah, that's FDOT money doing that.
Right, because one of the problems with the prior one is that much of the $45 million bond issue could have been gotten for free from the state. And that's another thing. Before the town spends money, they should see whether the state or federal government would give a grant or pay for it.
It's in the plan now.
Right, no, I understand that.
Yeah.
And one other benefit that I just noticed today is that when they do the road, they will put asphalt down and the road will be much quieter. So people who live in the buildings that are right on the road will find they don't hear the cars quite as much because it won't be as noisy.
Good
So
point.
that's,
Great point.
that's,
Great point.
you know, just a little additional benefit. What has been done that you don't like? If anything, you don't have to come up with something.
Bzz, time's up. Let's go on.
Am I saved by the bell? Well, I think the primary thing that we should be interested in is these, and as a physician, the safety of the people that live in Highland Beach. And what I find for those that walk for exercise up and down to A1A, not only do a lot of children, but a lot of adults use the walking path, and you don't hear the bikes coming from behind. I've been almost hit or brushed several times as a safety issue. Perhaps that could be taken care of with the widened lanes. Can understand for children not wanting to be close to. The other, I think we really need to have more of a public-private partnership, as I mentioned. I think that that's a great untapped resource, both economically. There's so much talent in this town on all levels, financial, engineering, and so on, that we need to, I think, take more advantage of it.
Okay, thank you.
Nope.
Oh.
Two more.
I thought the bell was up.
So we haven't met officially, but I have seen you at our meetings.
Yes.
You come to see in an audience that doesn't have that many interested residents on site. So I want you to know, I appreciate you coming to our town meetings, and you've been doing that for months. And you're just sitting there listening and learning and taking it all in. Boy, as your doctor role, your history from UPenn, your academic credentials speak for themselves. I'll have to admit, for the first time in my life, 50 years or so, I got an MRI. Never had one before. To check out my back. And I think, the Fisher House, it rang the bell on me with that one, because that's been my chosen charity for the last 20 years or more. I mean, they do a fabulous job. I've lived in Texas. I've seen firsthand what they do at the fort and whatnot. It's an awesome charity.
Next to Fort Sam Houston, I believe, where
Yes,
my
yes.
father was stationed there.
Yeah. I was at Fort Sam Houston, and the hospital just escapes me. But in any event, let me come back to the opposite of what Commissioner David asked. What do you like about what we've done anyway in the last couple of years? Rather than what you don't like.
Yeah.
I think the major achievements have been getting Highland Beach out from under the thumb of Delray Beach with regard to the fire department, which turned out to be a very costly endeavor. I believe having gotten a patrol boat for the Intracoastal is also a major addition to the safety of the people that use Highland Beach and its waterways. And I believe getting more people interested in running for office. There was a time when nobody wanted to be involved. And for me personally, I'd like to make the jump from actually constructive criticism to actual governance, which is far more difficult than criticism, quite frankly. So if you've ever been head of anything, you realize that it's a different skill set
All right.
to govern.
So in the past, it's true, we haven't had a lot of people running to come on and join us in the whole world of governance.
Mhm.
And myself, I was in business. I'm no politician.
Right.
And I'm not running for future office and, to be governor or anything. I just want to focus on helping the people of Highland Beach. But you bring up a very good point. Why do you think people now, for the first time in years, we have so many that are interested?
I think it's the newsletters, quite frankly, back and forth. I think both from the mayor and the commissioners, and also the Committee to Save Highland Beach, which has been sort of a watchdog, especially during the last administration. And I think it got more people involved. And the more people know, the more people get interested.
Very good. Thank you.
Not yet, not yet. Now it's my turn. And I'll be brief. First of all, the fire station is being built to the standards of a Cat 5.
Okay.
Just answer that.
Mhm.
Secondly, God forbid we have a major storm, all the fire vehicles will be removed from the island.
Mhm.
They'll be in an enclosed parking garage, and they'll be up on the 3rd or 4th floor.
Sure.
So we won't get caught like Naples did. So
Fair enough.
not to worry about at least that one subject.
I was trying to find a place to
Yeah.
park my car during just the last warning, and it's
Just-
not that easy to go across and
Well, after we get built, just follow our fire vehicles.
there.
So, they covered, I was going to ask also about what you saw as one of the reasons why so many people want to now get involved, didn't before, but that's been covered. Do you have any questions of us while you're here?
None that haven't actually been covered about the 3 people that are running for the unexpired term, also running for the 4-month term now.
We really wrestled with that,
Right.
and we got to a stalemate, so we left it alone.
Because I personally, had the other 2 not been running, I would not have run, because I feel that it could be a conflict of interest, but since everyone's running,
Yep.
that's why I'm here.
Okay, well, like everybody else, thank you for jumping in and being part of this. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Let's move on now to Miles Schlam, and Miles is on Zoom, I think. If you're still with us, Miles.
Here. Hello.
Hey there. We hear you, but we don't see. you.
Okay,
But that's
Okay.
okay.
that's all right. Let me just put these earphones. I'm live from the Dominican Republic, so yeah,
Okay.
it's a
How's the
little
cruise
sketchy. I didn't know I was going to be the last one called here, but alphabet is what it is. So yeah, I've been on here with going in and out a few times, but
Enjoying the cruise.
oh, it's great. It's fantastic. I mean, I heard you guys have a lot of rain down there, right? It's been
Well, it's up
raining.
here, I think. But yes, we did have rain, but today's been nice.
Well,
No,
I don't,
no,
I'm
now
not
we're
gonna, I'm not gonna give you guys a whole long-winded thing. I mean, as the mayor reminded me, you guys, I had no plan of doing this today. I really didn't think I was gonna be able to get internet, but we got this package, so apparently I'm able to do it.
Great.
And I mean, you guys have my resume, the letter that I wrote. I'm sure you looked at that, but for one, I mean, I have no complaints about the way the commission has been running. I've said it to multiple people. I think this is the best commission we've had since I've been in Highland Beach, 11 years. And that's why I want to join. It's not so much to make changes. I just feel that I would be an addition to an already properly running machine that I can, I have some good ideas. I have a lot of background in a wide variety of things. I have, I'm a practicing attorney, but I also have degrees in mental health counseling and business. I've lived in Highland Beach 11 years, but I lived in South Florida for 50 years. And I've been involved in other counties and Broward County, where I grew up. I worked for legal aid there in different capacities for 5 years. I've been a guardian ad litem for 7 years. I've been on here since I've been here. I've been on the CERT team, the Delray Beach CERT team, which, now I would hopefully, well, Highland Beach has their own CERT team too, but at the time we were trained by Delray Beach, and I've been on that since 2015. I'm very energetic, enthusiastic, and I have the time to do it. I have my own practice, so it's not like I have to be billing 80 hours a week. I practice mainly in criminal, family, and civil cases. I was appointed to the task force by Dave Arenberg, the state attorney, in 2016. I served on that. That was basically cracking down on these sober homes in Delray and in all of Palm Beach County, which we don't really have to deal with here in Highland Beach. But it was a problem in Delray Beach, and we definitely helped to clean it up since I've been on there since 2016. Let's see, what else can I tell you here? I'm excited about the new fire department. Let's see here. So task force. Yeah, so I've worked in different fields. I've had some cases. I've had code enforcement cases for the city of Fort Lauderdale where I've represented people. But as you know, I've been the chair of the code enforcement board here in Highland Beach. I've been a chair for the last year. I was vice chair before that. And prior to that, I was on the Beaches and Shores Committee, the original one before it was disbanded. And I love it. To me, I can always make time for working for this town. Because I just, I love this town. I joined the violations committee and at the Highland Beach Club. But mainly, I just like the people. I feel good about the people that are on the commission now, and I don't feel like it would be a contentious situation for me. And believe me, I'm the type that would complain if I had complaints, but I just feel like everyone has been doing such a great job. And really, when Peggy ran for the state house, I knew she was going to have to resign from this commission seat. And as much as I loved having her as a commissioner, I think it's even better now that we have her as a state representative. But I feel like somebody who's well qualified and feels similar to Peggy in most issues, should be taking her place. And no, I'm not running for the position for the open seat that in March. I'm only putting in for this appointment for the interim. But that's not to say that sometime in the future down the road that I might not file to run when there's another opening. But I know Commissioner David had mentioned to me that, it might be a conflict, and I was up in the air. I was definitely thinking about doing it, but, just the fact that there might be some conflict as far as having an unfair advantage running for the open seat. Running for the regular unexpired term. So I just said, you know what, let me do this. And if it's really the next natural step for me, because I'm almost completed with my second term on code enforcement. And, I think everyone would say I've done a very good job. I've been fair. I've been efficient. I never missed a meeting except for the last one that got canceled because of a hurricane and then rescheduled. But, we get the meetings done, everybody's heard, everybody gets due process. And, I don't think there's been any complaints as far as my performance. And I just feel like I'd like to do more, I'd like to do more. And that's really the next step since I've been on 2 boards already. And I feel that would be the next step for me would be to join the commission. Just feels right. So I know you guys are probably tired from sitting there all this time, but if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer. But as far as policy and with the town, I don't have any gung ho things that I'm looking to do. I mean, there was some creative ideas I had, like maybe opening a cafe on the town hall property, a little coffee shop or something that would be ran by the city, and maybe another revenue stream and a place for people to congregate, when they go to the library, or after a commission meeting or going to the post office, it would be another place other than the Sands, the Latitudes, which is the only business that's in Highland Beach. I know there's different opinions on that, but it was just something I've been thinking about for a while. And some other things. But anyway, if you guys have any questions, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, we're going to start with Ms. David.
Good afternoon, Miles. I'm glad you're enjoying your vacation.
Yeah. Thank
We
you.
interacted a fair amount over the years. So I'm trying to think what I can ask you that I don't already know. We did discuss a number of things at the last food truck, and I appreciate the insight that people want to come out because they're happy with how the commission is being run at this point, so they're not running away from it. They're coming towards it. And that wasn't a perspective I had thought about before, but it actually makes sense. And okay, give me one thing that's where a direction that you would like to see the town go in.
Honestly, as I said, I would like to see us continue in the same direction. Of course, there's always improvements that could be made, but I mean, with everything we've done, I don't see any like extravagant increase in taxes. I just got my property taxes. It's pretty much the same as it was last year. The streets are being taken care of. I mean, these are all the things that I would be advocating for. The one area that I can help and assist, I believe, is I do have some people I know in neighboring cities on other commissions and town attorneys and whatnot that I may be able to speak with about collaborating on certain things. I know Delray has been a problem, especially with the whole fire department, but I think I might be able to ease some of the tensions there with our neighboring towns. I know we're doing code enforcement now with the town of Gulfstream. I believe we part of our new contract. Is it Gulfstream?
Not code enforcement. It's building permits.
Building permits, right? So our guys are working for that town too, and yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head here. We've been maintaining the bike lanes. I mean, maybe the bike lanes could be a little wider. I thought about, at one point, I was thinking about putting a walk bridge over from the middle of Highland Beach across the way, but I know there's a lot of logistics involved with that. Just because people that live in, like, at the Highland Beach Club, right next to town hall, it's kind of a far distance to go to either bridge. You know, it's like 2 miles either way, to go 2 miles south, 2 miles north. Or maybe I even thought about maybe some kind of shuttle service, if we could figure out something like on certain days or certain times, help some of the retirees get to Publix. But I know, you know, a lot of these things are easy to talk about and say, oh yeah, that's a great idea, but we have to make sure that the need is there and that the funding is there and all that. So, but you know, I'm open to suggestions and I'm reasonable. And, you know, I'd say I'm pretty much moderate. So,
Well, thank you. That was a
okay,
very good answer.
thanks.
Anything else? No? John?
Hey, Miles, my goodness, I know you had made arrangements months ago to make this trip, and then all of a sudden this date comes up and you were really
Yeah.
trying to figure out how you're going to do this, but you know,
Mhm.
you found a way. I have to give you a lot of credit from the Dominican Republic. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
And in full disclosure for everyone, Miles has been my neighbor for 15 years or so at the Highland Beach Club. So I've worked out with him in the gym. I know his world. And when you look at, you know, clients in court, criminal defense, juvenile delinquency, representing families, everything from, you know, domestic violence, how kids are treated, divorces, all that mess. It's the world that is something that is really tough. In fact, I know Jack Halpern deals in this as well. And I have respect for people who can work with these kinds of really excruciatingly difficult, emotional, abusive cases. So my hat's off to you, honestly, Miles, for the work you've done in the past. I really don't have any questions for you because I know so much about you. You're an upstanding lawyer with all the good intentions in the world to help the social good. So thank you for all of that.
Thanks, John.
Okay, turn it over to you.
Yeah. Hey, Miles, this is Natasha. Thank you so much for tuning in on your vacation. I myself just came from vacation and I am super duper impressed that you're able to participate. I guess one thing that's on my mind, you've been so involved in Highland Beach, and I'm sure you remember the last referendum where we had several questions about the charter that we were looking to change. And, you know, as you know, we need resident support in order to do things. You know, we have a very low amount that we can spend without, you know, resident approval. And I think, in my opinion, one of the reasons why we, you know, we weren't successful in that referendum is the engagement of residents throughout that entire process. I guess, what are your thoughts on what went wrong with that whole referendum, coming up with the questions, coming up with the charter changes? What went wrong and what could we have done better to have come up with a better result?
I believe that's a good question. I believe that people were confused about a lot of it, and they misinterpreted. I don't think the wording was clear to a lot of people. I mean, to me it was, you know, but I have legal training. Not everybody understands all of that. And that's why I think it's important that have a lot of public outreach, you know, community meetings. I mean, I know you guys do like the meet the coffee with the mayor, right? But things like that and the food truck events have been great. But I mean, they've been like social events. I think we need to have more education where people can, where the commissioners can speak and people can ask questions about the exact nature of these referendum questions and the advantages versus the disadvantages, the pros and cons, and weigh every sure that they have all the facts and they're not just listening to what their neighbor said, you know, or you know, what the Save Highland Beach Committee is saying about it, you know, and they have all the facts. And that's what I would do, like have a monthly scheduled event, sort of like the coffee with the mayor, that, you know, once a month where people can come and learn about these things mean. Because I mean, if someone misreads it, I mean, the whole referendum question could be, you know, with one more, it's the
Okay, well, thank you very much. That's it for me.
Okay. Hey, Miles, it's Doug.
I think he just dropped.
What's it? Think you lost him?
Yeah.
Okay,
So thanks for your comments,
gone?
Mr. Mayor.
okay. Well, that's that.
Well,
My-
at least he got it in. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Listen, he did great.
Yes.
He did great. Okay, we have one more, and that's David Stern.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Town Manager. I'm David Stern. I live at 2901 South Ocean Boulevard, Highlands Place. I've been a full-time resident for 21 years. Originally, I came and my wife came from the New York metropolitan area, and we lived in New Jersey. In 1978, I came home with the news that I took a job here in Florida. We're moving to Boca Raton. I can still see the tears in her eyes.
hello. Sorry, I think I lost you guys. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Hold on one second.
Okay. All right.
It was my turn.
Oh, okay.
And, I just had one question for you, and that was all. First of all, I wanted to thank you for going out of your way on your vacation to jump on the internet with us. That was very kind of you. The only question I had was if you had the opportunity to change anything here in the town, what would that be?
I think we dropped him again.
We lose you again? Okay. Back to you. This is going to happen again, you know.
I know.
Okay.
To continue on the journey, I then got a job in California. I should say this first. We moved to Highland Beach. First, we lived in Boca Raton in the Woodfield Country Club. My wife wanted the ocean. I agreed. We moved to Highland Beach, and we actually moved into the condominium that you're living in today. Then something came up in Florida, a job opportunity, and the tears started again as we moved to California for 5 years. After that, we moved back to Florida, to Highlands Place, where we retired, and we've been there ever since. A little bit about my qualifications. I'm presently Chair of the Financial Advisory Board and have been a member for over 5 years. Prior to that, I was Chairman of the Board of Adjustment and Appeals, and prior to that, the Code Enforcement Board. I also was a member of a committee, which Jack alluded to a little earlier, in 2005 on reviewing the water plant. And I think we were extremely successful. We found no wrongdoing, but we did find some dollars. In addition to that, I was also a member of the previous Charter Review Board back in 2012. Interesting things came up at that point, and again, some of the topics that came to the new Charter Review Board, like the limits, was a major topic and concern. And at that point, I know it was talked about a little earlier, at that point, the committee agreed and recommended that some adjustment, and this was back in 8 years ago, that some adjustment should be made. And again, there could be no consensus and agreement, and the commission decided that that wasn't going to happen. So that's been a hot topic for a long time and a strong discussion. But every time we've had the discussion, I think change had to be made. And I think it's the way it was presented, the way it was understood, that probably was the major reason for the failure. And I would hope that would come up for discussion in the near future again. I'm also presently the president of Highlands Place. I've been president for 5 years. And my other activities is I'm co-treasurer of Temple Sinai. As far as my past is concerned, I was on the board of regents and the trustee of Long Island College Hospital, on the board of the Retail Federation, and president of Temple Sinai. I was also in the U.S. Army Reserves, and I came out as a supply sergeant. My work experience has been in retailing. I've been in a senior executive position with responsibilities including store operations, communications, security, and store planning. I've also taken some financial courses at the AMA in my last assignment with Ross Stores. With Ross Stores, just an interesting side note, I learned an interesting lesson. When I went to work for Ross, I understood that I was going to be a senior executive with the company. However, what the company had me do was go through a process where I worked on the receiving dock for a couple of weeks. I worked as a sales associate ringing a register for a couple of weeks and worked with a regional and worked my way through till I went into the main office and became assistant to the president. And the lesson I learned, there was absolutely nothing that came before us that we didn't know because we knew the nitty gritty. And that's a good lesson for any of these jobs, to really understand what's going on so you can make the proper decisions. I open up for any questions you folks may have at this point.
John, we'll start with you.
Well, Dave, I can also say that you being president at Highlands Place, I've recently learned, separate from knowing you, how well it's being managed.
Thank you.
As we've been looking at how to improve our own condo operations. You've done so much. The only thing you haven't done is be up here on the dais as a commissioner. So you know the town, you know our finances, you know the code enforcement, you know the issues that the town is going through. And looking at all of that, and you look at the commission and what we're trying to do, and I know you're very aware, you're very attentive to what we do as a practice. What's your overall assessment? And I'm not looking for just nice words, but just your assessment of what makes us different than everything in the past.
Probably the biggest thing that I can see is the planning, the strategic planning. There's really a plan of what should be done and a time frame of the most important things, the secondary things, and so forth. And I think attention to that and living up to the plan is one major reason for the progress.
So I'm glad to hear that. Actually, I didn't expect you to say that. So that's a good thing. That's very interesting. So it is true that we've been working on strategic priorities and we've identified them as a team, and then we've been knocking them off. As the town manager reminds us every so often, we ticked off that one. So now looking at, the priorities for the town, what do you feel is one of our top priorities besides fire EMS?
Okay. Clearly, the roads and how that takes place and the logistics of making it as painless as possible for the residents. We know that there's going to be major disruptions, and good planning there and the thought process would be a key issue for the whole town and for the welfare of the town.
Well, again, I'm just going to say, your reputation speaks for itself. Your involvement speaks for itself. I'm very pleased that you're running as well. Thanks for all your help and assistance for what we're trying to do here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, David.
Hi.
I think you probably know this town better than anyone else at this point. You've, as you have said, you've gone through the trenches all the way up to being chair of financial committee. I am very impressed with your background. I'm impressed with how you function. I can't think of a question that you haven't answered or that I think I know the answer that you would come up with. So thank you. Thank you for everything, to be honest. Thank you for running. Thank you for all the service you've done to this town. And may you continue servicing this town for years to come.
Thank you.
Hey, David. I got the pleasure to work with you on the financial advisory board, and I feel like I learned a lot. I feel like your contributions are so insightful, and your history of all your involvement in the town is just so incredibly helpful. And I'm so glad that you're willing to volunteer for this. And I totally agree. I think the plan, just like when you're building a house, you have to have the right plan. Otherwise it gets all messed up. So I like Evelyn, I don't even know what to even ask, except, I'm very complimentary of all your contributions, and I thank you as well for everything that you've done.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
So you've spent many years on multiple boards, clearly. So why do you want to sit up here with us?
I'll give you a few reasons. Reason number one, I'm term limited on the financial advisory board, and I'm looking for a next assignment. That would probably be the largest. Number two, I feel I can make a contribution. And I guess a question that has not been asked of me is, am I running as well for
You're not. It's
and
on
I'm
the
not.
list.
Yeah, and that doesn't preclude me being interested in the future in doing that. But I feel, in my opinion, it's proper if I can do a job, if I'm appointed to this temporary job, and then wait and decide what the next move would be and what would be best for myself, as well as what's best for the town.
Why haven't you run for the commission in the past?
Well, good question. I've been asked, actually. One of the things I didn't mention, besides what my background is, I also do some arbitration for the financial industry. And up until this point, I am still active, but up until the pandemic, I was pretty active in cases and so forth. And I felt I couldn't dedicate my time to that, plus the full time I was giving to the temple as president there as well. So in my career, I decided I was extended just about as far as I could be.
Good reason. If you were selected amongst your peers, which are obviously also very qualified, Is there anything that you would suggest changing here in terms of the way we operate?
Not at this point. I've watched every single meeting of the town commission. And as you know, I've attended the president's meetings and so forth. Can things be adjusted slightly as things come up? Absolutely. And that's one thing I learned as an arbitrator at the beginning. You never make any decisions until you hear both sides. You hear the first side and you say, boy, they're right. Then you hear the other side and say, maybe they're not so right. And then you got to hear the different opinions and then make an educated decision on everything that you've heard.
Okay. Any questions of us?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I think at this point, we've heard from everybody. If you would pass out the selection sheets, we can all vote, and then we'll pass them back to you.
This is not easy.
Okay, before the results are communicated, I want to thank everybody seriously for one, stepping forward, and two, putting the time obviously to fill the appropriate paperwork out and coming here today. Any one of you could have filled the position and filled it well. And I got to tell you, it's a pleasure to have heard from all of you. And down the road, I hope you'll continue to serve and be involved. Thank you. Are you finished?
Yes. It's Mr. David Stern unanimously.
Ah, congratulations, sir. I guess the next step is to swear him in,
The next step is to adopt the resolution.
is the resolution.
I move that we adopt resolution 2022-032, appointing David Stern until the next municipal election.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So now the swearing.
Now we'll swear him in. Yeah.
We'll come to the podium. Swear him in first and then.
Okay.
I. Your name.
David Stern,
Do solemnly affirm.
do solemnly affirm
That I will support, protect, and defend.
that I will support, protect, and defend
The Constitution and the government of the United States.
the Constitution and the government of the United States
And of the state of Florida.
and of the state of Florida
Against all enemies, domestic or foreign.
against all enemies, domestic or foreign,
And that I will bear true faith, loyal, and allegiance.
and I will bear true faith, loyal, and allegiance
To the same.
to the same,
And I am entitled to hold office.
and I am entitled to hold office
Under the Constitution of the United States.
under the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the state of Florida.
and the Constitution of the state of Florida,
And that I will faithfully perform.
and I will faithfully perform
All the duties of the commissioner.
all the duties of the commissioner
On which I am about to enter.
on what I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
And you may take your seat on the dais.
Okay, from now until midnight, drinks are on David. And it's at the bar up at the. Okay, we now move on to commission comments and we'll start with John.
I don't have any.
Excellent. Evelyn,
I also don't have any.
David, any comments?
Just thank you very much. And I'm going to take the tape and give it to my wife. Maybe she'll appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Natasha.
Yeah, I just want to repeat what you said earlier, Mayor, that all the candidates were so qualified and so impressive. And, you know, it's really wonderful to see so many people step forward. And I'm grateful that everyone has stepped forward. And I hope that you guys continue to be involved. And Highland Beach is going to be an even more amazing place because of all our involvement. So thank you.
I concur, and I'm thrilled that Judith and Miles came in on Zoom to interrupt their days, and Miles on his vacation. My goodness, terrific. Off of today's activity, I want to chat about the website real quick. When people go to look at the videos on past meetings, it's really a problem. One has to go and click live in order to get to them. Otherwise, they're looking at things from last year. And I only know about live because I touched base with Teresa. Can we get that fixed? So it goes back to like the old way? What happened so it ended up, can you come up to the mic and kind of explain it?
What?
Are you aware of this? You aware of this, Marshall?
Have you cleared your cache?
No, that won't have anything to do with it. I think it's when we uploaded all those thumbnails, because now if you look at the site, all the videos have a consistent thumbnail on it. So you're not seeing the people's bodies, you're seeing the title of the meeting that you're viewing. So I think when we uploaded all of those thumbnails, it changed something with how the format of the YouTube page is.
Personally, I'm not in love with all the thumbnails because obviously they all look the same.
Right.
Where the old one had the people, but it still had the data and the title of what it was. But that's my personal opinion. I don't really care. What I do care is ease of the residents to find things. And unless there's a message telling people first click on live,
Right.
Nobody's going to know when they can't find stuff.
I can work on it. I was trying to, I don't know what YouTube did with their algorithm, if that was the change, but I noticed when all the thumbnails were uploaded, it made that switch to the meetings that were on that homepage, but I'll work on it.
Well, if we go back to the old way, will it?
I don't know if it'll revert back,
Beyond me,
but
so
I can try.
I'll leave it in your trusted hands.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
But again, some of the double clicking and moving out is going to be addressed when we move. You guys approved us moving forward with the new platform, website platform that is also owned by MuniCode or the same company. So you won't have as many, best in class software packages that are disassociated. So now you'll bring it all into one.
Yeah, I'm aware, but that's several months away, correct?
6 months, as I understand it.
Yeah, well, 6 months to when it's
Implemented.
So, I mean, here our residents were looking at it was ranging between maybe 70 and 100 people watching a commission meeting. Now it might be 20.
If I also may suggest, if you go to the agenda and minutes page, there's a YouTube link right on every single meeting that's there categorized. So it's easier to get to the YouTube videos to look at the meeting that you're at. I know I may have just confused you a little bit, but
Maybe we could do a tutorial
We can.
on like a video stream online to walk folks for.
I won't tell you who it is, but somebody said, "Oh, we can see these?" And I said, "Yeah, just scroll down and click on this box." They didn't know you could scroll down on the main page. but I won't reveal who didn't know that.
Keep it a secret.
Okay. Our secret. No, but so it's got to be super easy.
Absolutely. And
That's
we'll
my
work
point.
on it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do we want to take a moment to look at it online and make sure we all, yeah,
Let's
bring
do
it
that.
up.
That'd be,
There you go.
absolutely. No, I think it's important because people want to see these things.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. I'll just scroll down. Click on agendas and meetings. Now click on that. Click. Okay. What just happened? Okay. Now, so if you click on that one, it's going to come up. Okay.
So if you go through it this way, this gives you the ability to sort all of the meetings, but they're all in order. And then if you click on them this way, you just click on the video and it actually has all the timestamps on it as well. So if you don't feel like listening to everything, you can go and click at exactly the section that you want to watch. So
Okay.
that's actually much better
That's
doing
wonderful.
it that way than going through our YouTube
Oh,
page.
yeah.
So that I don't have to listen to Shoemaker if I don't want to.
Correct. Yes. So every video is timestamped in there and it gives you a description and you just click on the link and it takes you right to that exact spot of the meeting instead of having to try and go through the whole YouTube page. It's much easier to go that way.
That's terrific.
They just have to get them there.
We got
But
it.
it's
Yeah.
right on our main page. You just click the minutes and takes you right to that list.
And that's always been there or that's new?
No, that's always-
That's always been there. See, I always went the other way
yeah.
and I didn't even know about that.
It's much better to go that way. And then if you, at the top of the screen, you can just pick code meetings, all the code meetings.
Where have you been?
It's always been like
Yeah,
that.
it's always
Well, but nobody told me.
I have another trick that I would like to share, which makes it very helpful to view meetings. So on YouTube, I don't know if maybe everybody knows about this. Do you mind bringing that back up? Okay, once you click play, and I don't know if you want to do that now. So one thing, so see the, press pause, yeah. So see the, to the left of YouTube, down at the, move your cursor to the right, to the dial, to the right, okay, there. Settings, to the left.
Outlet.
Okay.
There.
When you
Setting.
click on that, and you click playback speed, that's the normal speed. So to be as efficient as you want to be, you can actually
Change the speed.
change the speed to be much slower, which I don't think you need to be slower, but you can do it at 1.25 times the speed, 1.5 times the speed, 1.75 times, or double the speed. So I actually listened to the 15th November meeting. It was an hour meeting and I was, able to listen to it in 30 minutes.
You see,
So,
what I do is I just keep clicking on the bar to move forward faster.
Right.
So I don't want to
So-
listen to
right.
so-and-so. I'll just click up.
Right.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah, so you can do that and that's, I believe, every YouTube video. But I am able to catch, what everybody's saying. I listen double speed, or when Greg Babby was here, only 1.5 speed. But anyway,
okay.
you can change the speed as you're watching the video, and perhaps maybe we'll get more people watching if you can watch it in half the time.
Do it the way I was doing it, if you would. Because that will show what I'm showing is the problem. Got to go back to the website, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but had you not clicked live, it would have been stuff starting in sometime in 21. Yeah, so if you didn't know about live, that's what comes up. We don't know how many people go to it this way versus the way you just showed me. If most people are going the other way, then it's not such a big deal.
I've always.
You've always gone the other way.
Again, actually, it wasn't, and sometimes there's a delay, I guess, in you guys posting it to the website. So I remember one time I asked Linelda, can I have that link, whatever? She's like, you can always go to YouTube. So another way is to go to the YouTube just main page and just search Highland Beach, November 22nd, 2022 meeting, and it will pop up right away. Also, I actually have never gone to the Highland Beach homepage.
No.
I always just search on the specific meeting I'm looking at. If first I go to our Town of Highland Beach website and I go there first. If it's not there, then I'll go to YouTube and just search the specific meeting. I'm
You're
looking
very
for.
adept at all of this. So on a 1 to 10, you're like a 9. Okay. I'm maybe I'm a 5, maybe. So click live and let me see if I can make my point now. So go down so we can see. Okay, stop. Now, if you look to the right, see 60 views on the furthest one on the right. 58 views when you go down further to the one on 11.1. If you go down further, you'll see even more views. See 114 views on 10.1. Most commission meetings, not special meetings, most of them are running like between 75 and 100. And my concern is that if people are going the way I've been going, not the way you go, then we're going to lose people that want to see the meetings. If they're all going the other way and it's only me and a handful of people, then not a big deal.
I'll tell you, when I look at for the Palm Beach County meetings, I do go through YouTube, and I think they have the same issue where some of the older meetings, for whatever reason, are sorted up at the top. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because maybe they do have more views and maybe that's why YouTube is putting them up, because the older the meeting, the more views you're going to get, right? Because as people look at older meetings, maybe that's why YouTube
One
sorts
thing,
it that
yeah.
way. But I know the Palm Beach County meetings, when I look at those, the older ones rise to the top for whatever reason. I have to search for the
What you want.
date
Yeah.
of the meeting that I'm looking to find. So I don't know that it's in their control. I think it might be, like they said, a YouTube algorithm as
Well,
to how.
ours run or have been running, by date.
Really? Oh, they were chronological. I don't know. I don't have any history with that.
Is
but-
it possible, and if he's a 5, I'm a 2, put on our opening website page in a box to view commission meetings and tell them exactly what to click?
Yeah.
Or no.
Because
It's on
for
there.
me, you have to dumb it down. And I'm assuming there are a lot of other people in this town who might want to watch, who you have to dumb it down for, or they're not going to be able to see them.
But don't do the directions. Give them a button to click and take it right to the videos.
That would be the best, because I would think more want it dumbed down.
Right.
There are
But-
less that
Yeah,
are.
but we are going to be changing the webpage. So what I was thinking was, rather than play around with all of this until we get a new webpage up, then just do something simple.
Sure. We could, we'll look at
Yes.
that as a group, see if there's some other simpler ways or other ways, more spots we place it. I guess the easier it is. The community I came from used to replay them on cable. So the meeting, you didn't watch it here, tomorrow at 5:00, this meeting will be re-aired. And you can just have a schedule on Channel 9 looping and say, you could tune in at a later date, So maybe we just replay it on the PEG channel because we have a lot of
Yeah.
capacity. So
The beauty on this is the viewer controls it.
Yes.
Mhm.
If they want to get up and leave, you want to see half and see another half later. So if you can do what's being suggested with some kind of a click, a direct, that'd be nice and easy for them.
And
we will find some other ways. Yep.
I would add that once you go on the website and then you get that green bar that says you're leaving the website, people like, oh my goodness, I don't want to leave the website. That's going to take me. And so they forget about it at that point.
Yeah. And
It's
it's
almost a stop sign.
It's too many clicks to get
Yeah.
there. Okay, you got the message. They'll figure it out. Okay, are we good? Anything else? Okay, 3:57, we will adjourn. Thank you all again.
Where you belong up here, that's.
I have to stand in my building.